Welcome everyone to another Off-Grid Ireland X-Space. Tonight we are delighted to be joined by the IRB, John D. Flanaghan, Chairman, and John B. Caulfield, Liaison Officer. It is not those who can inflict the most, but those who can suffer the most who will conquer. A quote by Terence McSweeney. The IRB, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, was founded in 1858 by James Stephens with the aim of achieving Irish independence from British rule through armed rebellion. The IRB was also known as the Fenians. It was a revolutionary organisation that played a significant role in Irish history. The IRB was formed during a time of intense political unrest in Ireland. The country was under British rule for centuries. Many Irish people were growing increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress towards independence. The IRB sought to change this through a combination of political activism and military action. The group was involved in several uprisings against British rule, most notably the Fenian Rising of 1867. Despite several setbacks, the IRB continued to operate in secret, recruiting members and infiltrating the British establishment throughout the country, providing valuable intel which patriots were able to use to their advantage. The IRB was involved in high-profile events in the 20th century, including the Easter Rising of 1916 and the War of Independence in the early 1920s. Despite its early success, the IRB began to decline through the mid-20th century due to a number of factors, such as internal division within the organisation, such as disagreements over tactics, leadership, which ultimately weakened its effectiveness and led to a loss of members. Additionally, the Free State was established in 1922 following the Anglo-Irish Treaty, and it sought to distance itself from the more radical elements of the IRB. By the mid-20th century, the IRB had largely disbanded, with a few members joining mainstream political parties. While the organisation may have ceased to exist in its original form, its legacy lived on. Lived on through continued fight for freedom and the ongoing struggle for a united Ireland. In recent years, the IRB has seen a resurgence in activity. This can be attributed to a number of factors, including dissatisfaction with the current political system and a renewed interest in Irish nationalism. While some may view the IRB as a symbol of resistance against British imperialism, while others may see it as a relic of a gone-by era. Regardless of one's opinions, tonight we're joined by John D. Flanaghan, the IRB Chairman, and the Liaison Officer, John B. Caulfield, to discuss the IRB's relevance in today's environment, what they can offer Irish nationalists in 2024. We are losing our country, our culture, our rights, our land to the plantation by traitors of this land. Welcome to Off-Grid Ireland Twitter Spaces, the IRB.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for the introduction, Patricia. We're happy to answer any and all questions that people have in regards to the historical timelines of the IRB, the significance of the organisation, both from a historical and a current standpoint, and more importantly, what's really still there for the people in the form of the extant Sovereign Irish Republic, which was established on the 21st of January 1919 and remains established and is a fact for all of the people of Ireland.
Well, that's great, John. There, but could you just give us a brief, maybe from the 20s onwards? I know I kind of made a hash of it in the bio there. Just kind of give a brief dealings from you guys from the 1900s onwards, and also why have you guys formed again, and on whose authority are you guys going by? As the group was disbanded, I was just wondering who has the right, I guess, to bring back the IRB.
Yep, I'll pass that over to the chairman, John Flanaghan, introduced to answer that for you, Patricia, and for everyone else.
Very good. Well, Patricia, I mean, you picked a very good starting point there with the statement of saying that the group was disbanded. I mean, the group was far from disbanded. Allegedly, it was disbanded by Richard Mulcahy, a man that was cited for treason at the time. So it couldn't be disbanded in the manner and fashion that the history books tell us it was. But I suppose to go back to maybe the starting point of the separation or the divide, obviously the Anglo-Irish Treaty is that trigger point. And Michael Collins, who would have been the then president of the IRB and by fact and by right the president of the Irish Republic, would have been one of the signatories, one of the plenipotentiaries that went over to London for the signing of the Anglo-Irish Treaty. And with gun put to their head, with the threat of terrible and immediate war on the people of Ireland, those men had no choice at all really but to sign that treaty at that time. Now the fact of the matter is that by doing so, Michael Collins broke his oath, his IRB oath, and on his return back to Ireland, the first port of call always was IRB GHQ Vahans Hotel. And he went to IRB GHQ Vahans Hotel and met with the other members of the Supreme Council there, and that would have been a very tempestuous meeting, as we can imagine. But such was the force and the amount of respect that Michael Collins held within the council and within the wider public of Ireland. Even though he had broken his oath, he convinced the members of the Supreme Council to accept the treaty, which they did, I think, on a vote of 11-4. Now, the reason they did that is because of Michael Collins' prior overriding representations, to use a legal term, whereby he said, guys, give me 2 years and we will have our county sovereign republic back and up and running. So with that, he was stepped down as president of the IRB, and he went about doing the best that he could over the course of the next 2 years. But of course, as we all know, he didn't get 2 years. And he was taken off the pitch before those 2 years were up and before his full plan unfolded. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen that show that Paddy Cullivan does. He does his wonderful research done in relation to Michael Collins and the road and the progress that Michael Collins was making during the course of those 14, 15 and 16 months before he was executed. So what happened after that is that the presidency of the IRB fell back to the Maguires, to Tom Maguire, we believe. We're not certain if it was Tom or James, to be honest with you. And Tom Maguire would have been the man that turned the sovereign seal in the morning of the 21st of January 1919. I'm going back a little bit, but I think this is important for the listeners to know. So if we talk first about the 1916 Rising and the 1916 Proclamation, it clearly states by the organisation of our secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood. So clearly the whole organisation of the 1916 Rising was by the IRB. They were a phenomenally well organised group. They were everywhere stationed, all over Ireland, in London, in New York with the Fenians. And from that proclamation, from 4 minutes past 12 on the 24th of April 1916, when Padraig Pearse read that proclamation on the steps of the GPO, the rights of the people of Ireland changed forever. And the rights of the people of Ireland to a sovereign all-Ireland 32-county government rested and vested in the bowels of the IRB. This is a very, very important point. And no Crown Cabal or Irish Free State Crown Corporation will ever deny the validity of the 1916 Proclamation. But of course, authority rests with the author of the writ, and no Crown Corporation can tell us what that document actually means. So the authority for the people of Ireland, for an all-Ireland 32-county government, rested and vested in the bowels of the IRB. After they culled all those brave men, the signatories of the proclamation and all those others associated with it and all their supporters, it was then really that intense organisation was undertaken throughout all of Ireland. And when King George V called on the one and only All-Ireland General Election, 14th of December 1918, which was overwhelmingly won by IRB Sinn Féin, the political wing of IRB at the time, not the Sinn Féin that we know today, but IRB Sinn Féin. had an overwhelming victory in all of Ireland. And if you look at a map showing those election results, you'll also see in what they call Northern Ireland, but we don't call it Northern Ireland, but you will also note that there was an overwhelming victory in that location. Now, in the night of the 20th of January 1919, before the famous day of the 21st of January 1919, the IRB Supreme Council sat overnight and they scrutinised all the documents that were going to be promulgated on the 21st of January 1919 to ensure that those documents would fit with the programme of the Brotherhood, the IRB programme, the programme of the Brotherhood. Those documents were chopped and changed, were sent away until they came back, and until the Supreme Council were satisfied that they could deliver a programme for all Ireland. And then, on the morning of the 21st of January 1919, the first act that was done was the Sovereign Seal was turned. And the Sovereign Seal turned, that ceremony was to claim the land of Ireland for the people of Ireland and all the assets of the sovereign territory therein and thereof for the people of Ireland. Then, after that, the then President of the IRB, Michael Collins, transferred the authority, which, as we know, rested and vested in the bowels of the Supreme Council. And the authority for governance was then transferred to Dáil Éireann on condition that the Dáil follow the programme of the Brotherhood. Will I stop at that point to allow any questions, maybe?
Patricia?
Yeah. Sorry. I was just doing something there. Yeah. Could you tell me? What proclamation do you guys stand under? Is it the 1919 proclamation, or which one do you stand under?
Well, there's only one proclamation, and that's the 1916 proclamation.
That's the foundational document of the sovereign nation state.
Yeah, and could you explain to the group as well what the word rapine means, and as stated in the proclamation, inhumanity, cowardice, and rapine, and what are the punishments for those that dishonour the cause and cowardice, humanity, and rapine?
Well, as far as I'm aware, I'm not sure of the specific terminology, Patricia, but as far as I'm aware, rapine is in relation to the plundering of private property. And obviously the land of Ireland has always been sacred land, and we're all familiar with how much the Crown has abused the people. So obviously the land is very important, but that's only one aspect of the proclamation. I think people here should all focus and read the 1916 proclamation, Patricia, for the reason being that it is the estimation and the viewpoint of the IRB Supreme Council that document, the 1916 proclamation, is not just a historical document. It is the most powerful and extant lawful claim in the world. And if people go and read it, it is the first document of its time to mention women as well as men. It is a declaration of trust. It is a constitution. It constituted the provisional government. It also claimed the land of Ireland for the people of Ireland and for the rights of the people of Ireland to be sovereign and indefeasible. And it has never been denied by any Crown Corporation, Irish Free State. And it can't, because of what actually occurred. That document was ratified on the 21st of January 1919. And then, as people would understand from, I suppose we're giving talks across the country because there's so much, as we're all aware, there's so much convoluted history in relation to this land. We've been giving talks, the Sovereign Synergy Solutions presentations across the country for the last year, which is essentially a condensed explanation as to how and why the world is the way it is and ran so badly, and why Ireland and ERA is so crucial. It explains that entire timeline as to how every time a nation in Ireland tries to break free, but Ireland is a specific context, the Crown and the corporations and the alien governments come again. And thereafter they did impose through their putrid corporate assault on the sovereign nation state, their putrid paperwork on the people of Ireland. But that doesn't negate the lawful position of the 1916 proclamation and those other lawful documents which were promulgated for the sovereign nation state. John, I don't know if you want to add to that.
I suppose just to jump in it really, the question I think Patricia asked was the punishment. I suppose to be pedantic about it, the words of the proclamation in relation to the sentence on rapine says, and correct me if I'm wrong here, we pray that no one that serves that cause shall dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity or rapine. So, it's a call to the good of the people that are fighting for the nation, but it doesn't necessarily denote a particular punishment in relation to anyone that dishonours the cause. Just to be pedantic on the matter, that's what I would say.
No, that's fine. You answered that part of the question. But I was just wondering, where do you get your authorization from? It's just that people are kind of a bit confused around that.
100%, and that's a great question, and thanks for asking it, really. So what I mentioned there a while ago is that obviously with Collins signing the treaty, he lost the position of President of the IRB, and the presidency of the IRB fell to Tom Maguire. And the Maguires continued. Tom Maguire and his wife Gwen were actually poisoned in 1925.
Yes.
And so therefore, if you like to refer to them as the anti-treaty faction of the IRB, were the ones that kept protecting the 1916 proclamation, the 1919 Declaration of Independence, the message to the free nations of the world. They continued to maintain and sustain the claim over the sovereign territory of Éire for the people of Ireland and all the assets of the nation state therein and thereof. So I'll tell this story maybe, which will probably put it beyond doubt as far as authority. And just to be clear, it's the organisation that's authentic, it's the seats that hold authority, and anyone that volunteers to take up a position in the seats has utmost responsibility. So I think there's a bit of confusion out there whereby the IRB being rejuvenated is assuming some position of power over the people. That's not the case at all, nor can it ever be. It's maintaining and sustaining the position and the claim over the territory and the right for the people of Ireland. That's as far as we can say it is. But the IRB is a constitutional oath-bound organisation in its own right. It always operated by the book. And even after the establishment of Dáil Éireann on the 21st of January 1919, the IRB Supreme Council protected the provision for the government and for the President of the Irish Republic. And the 1920 IRB foregoing constitution under Article 20 confirms that the President of the IRB is by fact and right the President of the Irish Republic. And Article 22 of the 1922 foregoing constitution of the IRB confirms that the IRB Supreme Council is by fact and by right the government of the Irish Republic. So if we roll on to, I suppose, the period of abatement, maybe, which we call it, following the 1922, I suppose the 1924 Ministries and Secretaries Act. I was going to say the 1922 Constitution Act, first of all. But really it all changed with the 1924 Ministries and Secretaries Act. And this is something that the people of Ireland really need to know and that's been shielded from them. So all of the Dáil departments, the sovereign Dáil departments that were established, crystallised, and the 1916 proclamation in fact ratified on the 21st of January 1919, those departments remain extant right up to present day. They were given a legislative veil by the Ministries and Secretaries Act in 1924. Now, I'll roll on a little bit here now. So, when we come to the coronation of Queen Elizabeth, this is a very important point in time. 1953. They delayed her coronation for a period of 16 months. They had a couple of problems. They couldn't find the Stone of Destiny anywhere, and they still haven't found it. But the bigger problem they have, for any of your listeners that would have been watching the showpiece that would have been the coronation of Charles and the, I suppose, what is referred to as his proclamation before that. What goes on is that for him to be seen, the incoming king or queen, to be seen as the sovereign head of England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, the so-called government of those sovereign nations consent to him or her be seen as a sovereign head of state in condition that him or her recognise the constitution of that state. So when it came to 1953, they couldn't very well go to a Crown Corporate Irish Free State to seek the consent of the sovereign head of state, when, by fact and by right, the President of the IRB is the President of the Irish Republic, and the IRB Council is by fact and by right the government of the Irish Republic. So a delegation from Westminster was sent to Willowbank, where the IRB Supreme Council sat ever since they vacated the position in Vaughan's Hotel. Willowbank in Limerick, which was since gifted for the development of UL, was in fact the headquarters for the IRB, and that's where the IRB Supreme Council sat. But it was in fact the home of the Maguires, the home of Martin Maguire at the time, who was the then president of the IRB. And by being president, he was president of the Irish Republic. So a delegation of Westminster was sent for him to be brought over to Westminster to partake in the celebration, and for him to consent on behalf of the sovereign people of the Irish Republic. But of course, being protected by the articles of the foregoing constitution of the IRB, no one had autonomy in that. So he had to take the request back to the council, which sat in Willowbank, on his return. And Billy Maguire, it was on the first story that Billy Maguire told me about this. He was only 10 years of age. He said, I remember when my father came back, John, and he said there was a big meeting in Willowbank. And the decision was, she doesn't have sovereignty, all she has is royalty. She doesn't have sovereignty, all she has is royalty. So what that means is that the by fact and by right President of the Irish Republic and the by fact and by right Government of the Irish Republic did not consent to Queen Elizabeth as the sovereign head of the sovereign Republic of Éire. Now, if you want evidence of that, go look at the Crown Shield. And the Crown Shield, which is in existence since 1542, since Henry VIII brought in the Crown of Ireland Act, and the subsequent Crown Shield was developed therefrom, on the bottom left quarter, the third quarter as they call it, with the stolen Maid of Éire harp, 7 strings, blue background. That was there since 1542. And of course, 7 strings is the 7 strings Óglaigh na hÉireann harp, Maid of Éire harp. And that's the sovereign seal. And with the council and the president stating to the delegation on behalf of the Irish Republic that she doesn't have sovereignty, all she has is royalty. That harp, the third quarter, and that shield was changed for the first time in 410 years. And now there sits a 6-string harp, which is a nod to the Queen of England being seen as a titular head in England under the 6-string IRB harp, and not seen as a sovereign head of state. I might stop it here for some questions.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, John. Yeah, that's fine, John. But I want to kind of want to focus on where we are today, because we're in a world of shit. Excuse the term. We're losing our country hour by hour here, and we're losing who we are as a people. So I want to kind of know what brought about your resurgence again, and who are on the IRB council, and what are their roles?
100%.
And whose authority?
Oh yes.
And whose authority? I'm still not getting my head around. Like, who has the authority for all this? Not as in 2024. Okay. Like, is there existing members from back in the day, family members, or who's like? That's my question. Sorry, now I'm kind of dragged it out a bit. I want to kind of focus on today. I know we could do 6 hours on going over constitutions and times past, but it's very important right now. We're losing our country. I need to know where you guys are at and what you're going to be offering the people. So the first thing really is, what made you kind of get back to the fore again?
Okay, so just to apologise a small bit there, you did ask me where the authority was coming from and how it, the reason I told that section of those stories was to show that the IRB was never disbanded and that it continued from 1919 on. And it continued through the protection of the Maguire family, one family. And if you're asking me about how it has continued, one man alone has maintained and sustained that claim and that position of authority for the people of Ireland, William James Maguire. He was anointed at 7 years of age in 1950 to continue as the sovereign for the protection of the people of Éire, as the sovereign head of the nation state. So all he could do was maintain and sustain the claim. Every year, On his father's death in 1964, Billy took up the reins, I suppose, his first time returning the seal in January 1965. And every single year on the 21st of January, our Independence Day, maintained and sustained the claim for the people of Ireland. Now, the thing and issued the licence for Dáil Éireann, Sovereign Dáil Éireann, and the Sovereign Dáil Éireann courts. Now, in international law, the claim is everything. That's a very important point to make. Now, the other side of it then is we mentioned the 1922 Constitution, and the spirit of the terminology inside the 1922 Constitution provides for a period of 99 years for any lease. So the 100 years expired if you go back to the Anglo-Irish Treaty, which was signed on the 6th of December 1921. That expired on the 5th of December 1921. Now, there's no accident as well why Britain left Brexit after 99 years. People need to keep those timelines in their head to realise that there's opportunity here. There wasn't much and as I said, there was only one man for the last 50 years himself, single-handedly, that maintained the claim. But then the time was to move, and the time to move really was the end of 2021 and early 2022. So, at the request of William James Maguire, the only man that holds authority in relation to these such matters, he actually asked me, would I wish to restore the council to take matters through the legal system to help protect the position of the sovereign territory of Éire. So over the early part of 2022, I went around the country, met with lots of good people. Of course, we must remember this is a volunteer organisation. Nobody's getting paid for any work that's been done here, high up or low down. And I asked who might like to become a member of the council on a non-paid basis, a volunteer basis, and restore the council. We did that on the 22nd of February 2022, and with 12 sitting members and then 10 supporting members, signed under the Sovereign Seal of Éire by William James Maguire. That was the first steps in restoring the council. And again, I want to stress to the listeners, it's not about the people on the council. The importance is about the restoration of the seats. Then on the 17th of March 2022, we updated the foregoing constitution. On the 8th of April, we expanded the declaration of trust in relation to the assets of the nation state, stemming from the original declaration of trust, which is the 1916 proclamation. And thereon, and therefore from then, we've been continued to protect the paper position for the people of Ireland. So the thing about it is, Patricia, really, and to all your listeners, is that the people hold all the power. The people actually, the claim is made for the people, it's maintained and sustained, it's not denied. So what we all must look at is to realise how are they doing what they're doing to us, and what can we do about it? Well, the first thing you have to do about it is know that there's a right, you have the right to live in a sovereign nation independent state, and you have the right to a form of government which is a republic. And lots of people might not know the difference between what a republic is and what a democracy is. So a republic is a limited democracy where the rights of the individual are protected. This is why the corporations and the cabal are so afraid of republics. The Republic of Ireland that has been called in sports and on the media and that's a corporation. That's not the Irish Republic, the sovereign Irish Republic. The rights of an individual are protected under the Constitution in an Irish Republic. And we have a constitution. We also have a sovereign constitution, which is not many people know about, but it remains as extant as the day it was written, lawfully. And I can vouch for it because I have used that myself in the courts, in the Crown courts in this country.
It's probably a good place to jump in, Patricia. There's a fair bit in that. I hope that clarifies some of your queries.
Yeah, okay. But the thing is, a lot of listeners have said to me kind of in regards to the IRB. They're just wondering, where have IRB been? I know kind of John kind of based on the kind of holding the IRB for the last few years. But a lot of people have been asking, where have IRB been during our most tumultuous times over the last 100 years? We had the Rossport 5 in 2000, the Rossport 5 2005 from Mayo, who 5 members of that group spent 94 days in jail trying to protect Irish voters. We had the referendum there recently in 2024, not to mention the bank crisis in 2008. And I was just wondering, you guys should have been at before, especially during times. And
if I may touch upon that, Patricia, the IRB was one man at that time. As John said, it was Billy Maguire who was single-handedly holding that down. None of us, when we came together, John found out what Billy was doing. And John realised it through John's experiences in the courts. And John has probably had more experiences in the courts of this country than anybody, with respect to all those other people who are doing good matters. And John knows the power of paper and realised what was still there from the people, and that one man held for the people. So none of us knew each other, as I'm sure with a lot of you, and I know Gavin personally as well. We all kind of met together through the COVID tyranny and whatnot. And that was actually the catalyst for all of us coming together. I met John in late 2021 as well, and most of us in the Supreme Council. And it was our job to galvanise that sovereign position. So there was only really one man, Patricia, in that regard, holding the fort, holding the entire position for the sovereign nation state and for the sovereign Irish Republic. And he held every office of the sovereign nation state as he was anointed and appointed to do at 7 years of age. We're all volunteers, and we all have volunteered for this as grown adults, knowing exactly what's part of that. But Billy Maguire didn't. Billy Maguire was 7 years of age in 1950 and has continued to hold that claim despite so many ambushes and incorrections and falsifications and lies and slander and all the rest. The man has stood and held true until the right people came along at the right time to bring forward the Irish Republic. And as Billy says, he has now passed it all on to John Flanaghan and the Supreme Council, because Billy is not getting any younger. He's 81 years of age. I don't think the man could have done any single thing more than he did throughout that period. And it's quite miraculous. And in time, the people of this country will come to learn about what Billy Maguire has actually done for this nation state. It is quite incredible, really. But, so to bring it forward, we didn't know each other till the COVID period, and we all came together then. And as I said, Billy asked John to restore the council because of John's experience in the courts. John has been in the courts more so than probably, as I said, anybody in the history of this state, so there's a lot happening in many regards. But just to bring that forward, there was only one man at that point. He had some good people around him, as of course he did. I think John was just saying, he was asking, did you mention the financial crash of 2008 there?
Yeah, we can hear you, dear John, and we can hear you, PR. Work away.
John, this for John Caulfield, maybe. Would you be able to give the listeners there a brief rundown of the role of the council members that are on the IRB? What is their role within the group there?
I don't know if the internet is kind of coming and going our side or your side, guys, but there's just kind of phasing in and phasing out. But John was just in the middle there, Patricia, of answering about the Irish Republic. Of course, I'll pass it over to other John Flanaghan.
Which question am I answering now? Sorry, Gavin, what question am I answering?
Do you want to jump in, Gav, maybe, and ask a question if Patricia's internet has just gone there for a moment?
No, you were just answering the question there, John, and PR kind of went through. You were just explaining something there. You want to finish it off?
Yes, okay. So I think, if I can recollect, what I was saying is that, what we have to accept is that, by and large, the majority of people accepted the Crown corporate Irish Free State type of government. Everybody went along with that. The majority of people did. And only a small select bunch of, shall we call them, anti-treaty IRB, kept the claim for the Irish Republic form of government alive for the people of Ireland, and maintained and sustained the claim of the land of Ireland for the people of Ireland. So it's very hard for an organisation to do much if the people don't recognise and see the organisation. It's all there for the people. And just to make another point is that what's unique about Ireland, there's lots of other countries around the world that are desperate to break free as we go through the age of knowing and all these veils of deception are lifting. But no country has the foundations that are here for the people. This is what's extraordinary. Everything was achieved 100 plus years ago on the 21st of January 1919. And if the people want any evidence of that, go do their own research, please, and you will see that the corporate government departments present day confirmed they were established in January 1919. The choice is with the people. If the people accept and see and can open their eyes, it's all there for them. They do not have to be a slave to the system. They do not have to be a Black's Law definition of a person, citizen, where you've only rights by qualifications. The IRB can't do anything. We can't do anything to anybody that can't or doesn't want to see that. But it's all there. And it's not about John Flanaghan or John Caulfield or Howard Hughes or anybody else that sits in the council. It's just about the organisation and the authority that the organisation holds. Not the people in the organisation, it's the organisation. And it's all there. It's all there for the people. It's just for them to accept it. As Billy Maguire has been saying for 50 years, won't you accept your sovereignty? It's your sovereignty. Only you can accept it.
So PR seems to be gone there. I just ask you a quick question there, John. And how do you were saying you're fighting this in courts. How does our court system look at the likes of the IRB like? And if you're bringing up the Constitution to our courts and our judges, how experienced are they answering these questions? Because I'd say that they wouldn't be too educated either about the IRB, you know?
It would surprise you now, Gavin, to be honest with you, but certainly the IRB aren't going into court as a collective or as an organisation, but unfortunately John Flanaghan seems to spend a lot of time inside in the court. So, but I can talk a little bit about the impact of IRB and sovereign licences. The IRB has maintained that position for the issuing of sovereign licences. Now, just to explain a little bit about that, people will say, geez, in the license, isn't that a corporate construct? Well, no, a sovereign license is different. A sovereign license belongs to the sovereign nation state. It's granted or issued for 364 days. It's taken back 1 day every year to regain or retain its sovereignty, and then it's reissued automatically if it hasn't been misused or abused. That's the difference, and it's granted under sovereign seal. So, over one of the aspects our Secretary of Justice has taken on, Flanaghan, over the course of the last number of months, is he's been seeking confirmation from the court service as to how many judges actually hold a sovereign licence. Now, we all know they don't. We all know they're sworn into the Bar Council, and therefore their oath is to the Crown and the corporation. But of course, these are all steps to be taken to remove these veils of deception and to remove ourselves from being a Mr. surname in the court as opposed to a living man, John. So once we drew a blank with that, we then evolved into the concept of where any living man that was unfortunate enough, or maybe in the instance as a plaintiff, fortunate enough to be before a court, can come to the IRB for a sovereign licence for the sitting judge for his case or her case. Now, I have used that myself and in the High Court, and the judge has made the other side apologise to me for calling me Mr. And he has, in the course of this particular case, where I used that, where I furnished him and the court clerk with a sovereign licence, he, for the remainder of that case, addressed me as John and apologised for any confusion on it. And this is very, very important for people to know that when you stand inside in those courts, unless you have some piece of pure paper, you are nothing. You are guilty, whether you plead guilty, whether you plead not guilty, or whether you say nothing at all. Regardless of where you're going, you are nothing. You are a person in Roman civil law, and you are below everyone else inside in that courtroom. So, as regards the IRB, what have they done in relation to the courts? Well, we have come up with a construct whereby any living man or woman that's a sovereign claimant in ERA can come to the IRB and seek a sovereign licence for the sitting judge or judges in their case. But of course, again, it comes with knowledge, and the living man, living woman must know that these things are possible for them.
Okay, Gavin, have you any questions there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get Patricia back in, but so just give us a brief outline then of what your idea is and the plan around it, and what will it take to see results, or we're just trying to get Patricia back in because she has a good few more questions.
Yeah, well, sure, we're starting at the very top, really. The fact of the matter is that the land of Ireland belongs to the people of Ireland. That is there in black and white in our 1916 proclamation. Nobody denies that. No corporation denies that. Our 1919 Constitution confirms that as well. And we have a vast territory. So the claim has been made at the very highest level. We have continued to submit the paperwork on full notice to the corporations that the people of Ireland hold highest claim on the land of Ireland and all the assets therein and thereof. That's one aspect that we have been continuing to put in place in the public domain. Then we have utilised the mechanics of the postal union, the UPU, where all commerce, all the nations of the earth agreed to run contracts in commerce through the UPU. So we've set about then and looked at all these acts and statutes that are affecting the people of Ireland, that don't serve them. For example, the Anglo-Irish Treaty, the Government of Ireland Act 1920, the Constitution of Ireland Act 1922, the Act of Union 1801, the Crown of Ireland Act,
The Health Act, the Education Act.
The Health Act, the Education Act, all acts that are just being used to abuse the people. And we have disqualified those on full notice to the Attorney General and the corporate government. And they are all there for the people to use themselves as a layer of protection. I suppose, as well as all that, we have then, when we disqualified the Ministries and Secretaries Act, we also rolled out Executive Order 22822 and 4291, which is, as I mentioned earlier in the show, was where the authority for governance of Ireland, of the Irish Republic, was transferred from the bowels of the IRB by the President, and it was on condition that the Dáil follow the programme of the Brotherhood. And you don't need to be a genius to figure out that whatever this Dáil is, it certainly isn't Dáil Éireann, because Dáil Éireann never sat in Leinster House, but it certainly isn't following the programme of the Brotherhood. So we reversed that transfer under those executive orders. Those were the first steps in relation to bringing back the authority into an organisation. Again, it's not to the individuals in the organisation. This is a very, very important point. We are nothing. We're just sitting in the seats as volunteers. But the organisation is authentic. The seats hold authority, and anybody that is volunteering to take up a seat holds utmost responsibility. So those are aspects we put in place. We've also rolled out the alternative to the land registry system. We have put in place the enrolment of Ireland's real estate, e-i-r-e.ie. And that's where a sovereign man or woman in ERA can come forward and claim superior title for their property and their land. Now, what I mean by that is that we're living in a legal construct. The matrix is a legal construct. And when it comes to property, in a tiered level, you have legal, equitable, beneficial, and laudate. And all the system sees is legal. All it sees is us as corporations. You'll see in the land registry, all it sees is the councils and the townlands and the baronies in capital letters, all corporations. And it's not that the system won't recognise the rights, for example, of spouses or a woman that might have married into a family farm and her name is not on the title deeds, but she is an absolutely pure equitable interest. And then if the farm gets into trouble, there's no paper evidence to show that that woman has any interest. Well, this is a method whereby it's in the public domain, and those interests of a spouse, as we say, or a wife of a man that is the legal owner of a farm, or if they have or wanted to have the property in trust for their children, all these lawful interests can be declared in public. Now, if you'll ask me, is this working? I can tell you absolutely it is. We set about constructing this with the hope that if somebody went into this website and searched for a folio on the website, well, then the paperwork showing the superior title would come up on the website. But thankfully, it's gone further than that. And if you go into Google to do a reasonable inquiry and put in a folio, any of those folios that have been enrolled in Ireland's real estate, that plan notice or foreground plan comes up first before anything else. Now, what that does is says, right, if a bank is trying to sell my land, anybody that's buying it is under the maxim of law, buyer beware, caveat emptor, and they must make reasonable inquiries. And you can't have a more reasonable inquiry in this day and age than doing a Google search. And if they do a Google search, they'll say, there's a lot more going on with this property than what the bank is telling me. So it is a very heavy layer of protection for the people of Ireland.
So, John, can I just ask you a question there? What is your main goals for today? Like, would you eventually like to take over our government? Would you like to run the country? How many members do you want to achieve to make a movement like that? Like, what is your goals today for the people of Ireland today that's suffering at the moment with inflation, everything going through the roof, mortgages going up, uncertainty, false flags of freaking COVID, etc., vaccines, etc., etc. What is your goals today for the people of Ireland?
There's about 30 questions in that there, really. But first of all, I would say to you is our mission statement is to correct and set and protect the position of the sovereign territory of Éire for the people of Ireland. My wish is that the people of Ireland would see all the possibilities that are there for them. That's our wish. We want, as far as political aspirations, none of us have political aspirations. There's no need for it. All we need to do is correct what's wrong in the system. We certainly don't want to run anything. We have a duty, we have a responsibility to protect the sovereign position. And once the sovereign position is protected, well, it protects the sovereign man and woman. And sovereignty is God, man, government, and anything else is God, government, man. The people need to know what's there for them. It's all there for them. As I said, we're talking to lots of countries around the world, lots of aspiring sovereign nation states trying to break free from cabal control, and none of them have the pillars of what are here for the people. It's all there for the people in this country. Sovereignty. First in time is first in line, and first in time in this country is 21st of January 1919, Sovereign Dáil Éireann. After that, you get the Ministries and Secretaries Act putting a legislative veil over it. And they keep, the cabal and the crown and the corporations keep putting tentacle after tentacle on top of the people, and have the people so busy and tired running from one end of the week to the other, they haven't time to think for themselves. Everybody's struggling to make ends meet. It's horrific what they're doing to the people of this country. Well, not just this country, every country. But we really wish the people, thank you for this exposure, and I'm hoping that it goes out everywhere. We have no aspirations to do anything political. Our job is to protect the sovereign position, to correct and set and protect the sovereign position. And once the people know they're sovereign and they know they're above the corporations, well, then they take certain steps and those corporations will work for them. Those corporations can't abuse it.
It's an individual journey, first of all, though, guys, and it's about people recalibrating their consciousness and correcting their status. And again, it all comes down to paper. It really is all about the paper. Hence the reason for anyone here who might have been following some of our social media updates over the course of last year, it's consistently paper, because that's what they've done, as John, you might have read, that's what they've done.
Look, it's the truth. I think Patricia asked a question there, and I didn't take up on it there, but she was asking about the financial crash. I'm someone that I'm from Doolin in County Clare. I grew up in a small little 2-bedroom thatched cottage. We didn't even have a road into the place that I grew up in. I thought when I was growing up I was the unluckiest man in Ireland. I know that I was, in hindsight, I was so lucky. I worked. I served my time as a carpenter. Ended up as a construction company, ended up developing some sites and some buildings and some premises we kept ourselves. We borrowed money to help finance those. I made my deals with the banks whereby I put in my chunk of money, my equity up front, and I was involved in what I consider to be limited recourse secured facilities, where I was taking a risk, the bank was taking a risk, I could lose the property, and that was it. But then the crash came, and that really opened our eyes in relation to the banking system and how money runs the world and those that run the money rule the world. So not alone were they able to take properties, they were also coming after the borrowers, so-called borrowers, for 100% of the money. So I'm someone that just, I suppose I just resist all these sort of attacks on people. And there was these receivers coming in the doors into our office, hand over fist, waving a piece of paper in my face, a so-called deed of appointment. And I saw lots of my good business people collapse at that time, frightened for their families, frightened for their futures, over these men in Armani suits coming in the door waving a piece of paper. And I looked at them and I said, sure, look at it, you have a piece of paper and I have a piece of paper. We'll have to see who's the best piece of paper. And I looked at their piece of paper and it was absolute putrid, is the word I put to it. Absolute chancing. And we found our bit of better, purer paper. And our piece of purer paper won out 9 times out of 10. And during the course of those years, we got a reputation of being able to, I suppose, stand up to the banks, as the phrase I would use. And we were able and blessed to help a lot of people that were in terrible times. There was young families going in the door into our offices, absolutely terrified. What it did to you, forget about the business people and forget about people that lost whatever amount of hundreds of thousands or millions, but what they did to the young people and the terror and the fear that they put into the houses, it's just absolutely horrific. And it's just not on. So this is why I then ended up in a situation where we were the first judicial review on NAM, actually, before Paddy McKellen actually took his judicial review, and we retired the receiver. And I suppose I just went to study the paper position a lot, how every single thing they do to us. And if there's one message I want to go out to the people here, is that everything they do to us that we don't want them to do to us starts out with them making a presumption or an assumption on paper that they can do it to us. And this is why our heart also goes out to people that protest. Because when people go out, and all good people, and I'm not telling anybody not to protest, but the thing about it is give a little bit of thought to what you're doing. When you're protesting, you're complaining about something being done to you that can be done to you, and you just don't like it. The message here is rise above it. Get purer paper to trump their putrid paper. None of their acts, statutes, legislations can affect the living men and women. It's very hard, I know, for people to accept that because we're just not given time to think that that is the fact. But it is the fact. When it comes to paper, the most evil of all the papers are what we refer to as the papal bulls. This is why Ireland couldn't fully break free 100 plus years ago. We were a very devout Catholic country. We didn't know about everything else that was going on there. But if you take, for example, Papal Bull Unum Sanctum from 1302, what we say is presumptions on paper everlasting. You know, under that papal bull, they have claimed all the souls of the world forevermore. Forevermore. And I've loads of people that come up to me inside in meetings and say, look, I know I'm sovereign. I don't need paper to prove I'm sovereign. No, you don't. But then tell me, how do they still do to you what they do to you? You must trump paper with paper. You must nullify it. On the 1st of August last year, we nullified Papal Bull Unum Sanctum for the people of Ireland. Well, we didn't, it wasn't easy enough. It was an easy job anyhow because of what was declared and promulgated on the 24th of April 1916. The rights of the people of Ireland changed forever on that day. It's just the people don't know it. But I would encourage people just to know that it's just paper, and a living man or woman's wet ink autograph on pure paper will trump their putrid paper every time. If anybody wants to look at paper, please go into the website e-i-r-e.ie, and if you want to go into and look at my tab, it's s.c.f1, and you'll see there are 16 flags of what we call wallets there, all divided into the various departments where there would be claims on by the corporations on us, and we have brought forward pure paper to trump those putrid claims. Please, anybody that wishes to, feel free, go in there and look at those examples, and feel free, if you think they're a fit for you or they resonate with you, please feel free to use them yourself if you see wish.
Gavin, have you any more questions, or is PR going back? We'll open it up to.
I think Patricia's it was connection problems there, and then I don't know. I don't think she can get back in, unfortunately. We might go to ask questions because I see on Bunrock there, and they're kind of into stuff. So will we just take some questions, John? Do you mind?
Yeah, 100%, Gav. 100%.
Good stuff. We get some out. I think this is. We'll see if we can let him in here.
I have him in there, Gav.
Yes, we can hear you there now. Yep.
Oh, great, thank you. Hello, John and John. It's Nigel, and you may recall we met in Birmingham, England a couple of weekends ago, and prior to that in Slane. I wondered if you'd like to talk a little about the Albion Co-op, because the fantastic work that the IRB has been involved in has much wider implications and has become the catalyst for the good of many.
Hello, Nigel. We were thought the Bunrock were coming on there, and I'm sure, Gavin, if the lads want to ask a question here, we're here free if you want to start the mic. But Nigel, great to hear from you. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, John.
No, absolutely. I'm happy to. It's another thing, really, I suppose. One of the things Billy Maguire always keeps stressing, which comes from, what he grew up with, really. It's 4 nations, 1 people: England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And historically, in ancient times, the lands would be known as the Albion region. So, knowing what we know and knowing that there's a model there that we can take forward to help other nations, given, with the carriage to sovereign seal and the recognition, because recognition is what's all important in international law. We have, over the course of the last year and a half, been meeting and travelling to England to bring forward the English Republican Brotherhood, actually, is where we started. And we did establish that on the 25th of March, I think, 2023. Yeah. However, we fell back here, and because there's so much to build forward here. And it was only really, as Nigel says there, when we met with Nigel and some of his colleagues in Slane in March this year, that interest was renewed. So then we set about, in collaboration with good people in Wales, good people in Scotland, good people in England, and we said, let's look at this from a high level here. Let's look at what was ancient, and then we set about seeking to set in place an agreement whereby we would establish the Albion Co-op. And over the course of, I suppose, 5 to 6 weeks, we then travelled to Birmingham on the 15th of June, just gone, and we had equal representation from ERA, from England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, and we established the Albion Co-op. We established a manifesto, we established a code of conduct, all signed and sealed, and then we promulgated the Birmingham Declaration, which quite simply states that living men and women are above king and kingdom, pope and papal bull, crown and corporation. And the objective of the Albion Co-op is to help establish further the rights of the sovereign people and for the enjoyment of private property. That's just a very simple, I suppose, explanation of it. And it's growing, and it will grow very, very fast. We could go over and back all day long, but there's a swath of correspondence between ourselves and the Attorney General, and the selective quotation that you picked out there does not serve the purpose of what that communication was about. The main question that we put to the Attorney General is in relation to Article 3 of Bunrock, and he has failed to answer that. Now, we can't speak to the veracity of Bunrock. It's not an IRB document. And please, we would encourage anybody that believes in it to use it to its fullest ability. Away you go. I applaud you, Mouse, for promoting it and standing behind it. Please use it. Anything we're doing doesn't affect that document that you believe in. Please do it, and good man, and on you go. Until we get a response back from the Attorney General in relation to Article 3, I can't say any more about the veracity of that particular constitution. And the last thing I would say is that the 1919 Dáil Constitution is not the 1919 Sovereign Constitution, no more than the IRB foregoing Constitution is the Dáil Constitution or the 1919 Constitution. There's a constitution for any organisation that wants to go about its business in an organised manner and fashion that's transparent and a clear set of rules for those that wish to abide by it. And if you don't wish to abide by it, well, then away you go. But well done on promoting and supporting on Bunrock. I wish you all the best. It's just not our document, but I have used on Bunrock myself in the High Court, the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, as well as the Sovereign 1919 Constitution. What I would say is what it does for me is I can stand on my left foot as a sovereign man and use the Sovereign Constitution. I can stand on my right foot as a private person and use the benefit of the 37 Constitution. That's all I can say on that. And good luck and God bless.
Okay, lads, that's brilliant. We'll just move on there to Melissa because we're just running behind in time. Melissa, we just have a question there, please. And
now, first question. I've heard there with the lads explaining the IRB that, and John knows me, John Caulfield. I don't think I've ever met John Fleming personally, but John Caulfield will know me well. So I have a couple of questions, and they're directed to John Caulfield. You stood in Vinegar Hill, John Caulfield, with Stephen Delaney. I was there. I climbed up that hill that day, and you said you were going to write a new Constitution of Ireland. We didn't see it. I would also like to relate to how the IRB has been held up by one man. I will refute that because I do follow the IRB, which is Tom Ryan IRB, what I believe to be the real IRB of Ireland, and helped carry it on to this day, and still carrying it on, which I have put in the purple pill there for anyone to see. So the fact you haven't mentioned Tom Ryan once is a concern to me. That you said Billy Maguire held it, John Caulfield, up until 1920 or 1921 or whatever. That is not the truth, to my knowledge. And thirdly, you said you're non-political whatsoever. And PR, before she dropped out, and I'm going to ask the question again, and I have the list. She asked you 3 times as to who are your counsel, and none of the 2 of you have answered that question. PR, who was co-host, and Off-Grid Ireland co-host with Gavon there. Unfortunately, she's dropped out, maybe due to connection or whatever. But she did ask you 3 times and the question hasn't been answered. I have seen your list that you did make public, John, of your council, and it did hold 2 extreme political people, being Anne McQuirk and Dolores Cahill, and Anne McQuirk's brother, who was a long-time Sinn Féin member. So, can you answer those 3 questions, please? Because it's very hard for me.
Sorry, Melissa.
Sorry, I'll just finish and I'll let you answer respectfully. It's very hard for me watching Tom Ryan and following Tom Ryan and his writings for numbers of years that you failed to mention him. And are ye a Catholic movement? Because if you are, you've been down at my local home area of Lochar, which is actually a pagan corner, and I know it well, reared there. So if you can answer those questions, please.
Yeah, well, I'll touch upon a couple of them, and I'm sure John will answer further. So, Melissa, in relation to back in late 2021, myself and Stephen Delaney and Dan Gone decided to do a declaration, which we did promulgate on the 21st of January 2022 in Clonmacnoise. We didn't say we were writing a new constitution or anything like that. We were three young bucks, really, coming out and trying to do a piece of paper, considering the tyranny that had befallen us, and that is actually what led us to meeting John Flanaghan. So that is just that first part. I can name out all the names of the council members for you if you so wish. So off the top of my head, we have an executive.
Well, PR did ask that question 3 times, so
yeah, well,
I'm just repeating it for her that she's not here.
There was of course. Well, we can name it out now. So off the top of my head, we have a council which consists of a chairman, a vice chairman, treasurer, and
sorry. Obviously, we all know what that is in every committee. I think
hang on. I'm just answering the question for you. So we have an executive which is comprised of 4, chairman, a vice chairman, a treasurer, and a secretary, and the decision of any 3 of which is binding on all. The chairman, the man currently holding the seat, is John Declan Flanaghan. Our vice chairman is Howard Michael Hughes. Our treasurer is Niall Martin Murray, and our secretary is Eileen Mary Tackney. I am currently sitting in the seat as liaison officer of the IRB Supreme Council. As well as that, we have our coordinator for EIRE.ie, James P. Nestor. We have our secretary for children, Eamon P. Carty. We have our secretary for health, Anna Marie Stacks-Rivas. We have our secretary for agriculture, Colin D. Hall. We have our secretary for education, Barra Seamus DeRochta. And our Secretary for Justice, Colin M. Granahan. So we are fully transparent. We have nothing to hide and open. That's who our current 11 sitting members of the Supreme Council currently consist of. I don't know, John, if you want to touch upon Tom Ryan.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, look, to be honest, Melissa, the reason I didn't discuss Tom Ryan is because Tom Ryan was an assistant of Billy's for a number of years. There's many videos there if you want to look at them in the internet about him inside in the Mansion House, confirming to the attending public that William James Maguire, Billy Maguire, is the president of the IRB, confirms that it's the duty of the president of the IRB to turn the sovereign seal each and every year, 21st of January. And the fact of the matter is, and I said it at the start of the show, that the IRB is an oath-bound organisation. That's what it is. And the truth is, Tom Ryan never took the oath. So whatever Tom Ryan is president of, he certainly isn't president of the oath-bound constitutional organisation that was formed by James Stephens on 17th of March 1858. I have nothing against the man. I wish him well in his endeavours. He's just not an oath-bound member of the constitutional IRB. That's all I can say about the man.
Now, is that okay with you, Melissa?
Melissa's mic is just down there.
No, I'm just sorry. Thank you, lads, for answering my questions. And yes, you were 3 young bucks up in Vinegar Hill. I agree with that one. Outside of, I do believe that Maguire stepped down as president of the IRB, and Tom Ryan took office and he has evidence of proof of that. And let's just go back to Dolores Cahill and McQuirk, where he said you weren't political, where there's 2 very strong people, and we had Brendan Kelly on there as well. You haven't mentioned any of these 3 people who have been very political all along, John. So, let's call a spade here, and not knocking what you're doing. Anything that helps Ireland, we're all for. I'm a Republican nationalist personally, as you're well aware, John. And anything that will help Ireland, I would welcome with open hands. But questions have to be asked for trust. At this stage,
sorry, Melissa. So what specifically is the question?
So why, when you're so against the Crown, did you bring on Dolores Cahill? Was it the finances? Why are you charging people for a piece of paper for their sovereignty, which they're born with? John, I have a big issue with that one. If you can answer those 2 questions, please. Dolores Cahill was very much part of secret societies in England, and it's why she was actually, and I brought that evidence to the IFP, and it was one of the reasons why she was expelled from the IFP, might I add.
Okay, Melissa, well, I mean, I can't comment on any of that, but what I will say is this, is that, first of all, Dolores has never sat on the Supreme Council. Yes, she is an IRB member and she took her oath, but what people do in their own personal lives, as long as it doesn't conflict with the Constitution and their oath of the IRB, well, then it's none of our business. When you say Anne McCourt, I presume you're thinking about Anne McCluskey. Anne McCluskey sat on the Supreme Council for a long time. She was a great asset, and then she decided she had more work commitments, and she did go back into the political arena. And what she does is her own business, but it certainly is. There's no contamination or cross-contamination with any of those people with the IRB Council.
No, Fergus, do you want to ask the question there? We just can't move it on there, lads. It's going to be a bit long.
It is.
Are you talking to me, Jared, yeah?
Oh, sorry. Go on. Yeah.
Oh, well, listen, I've been listening for a long time here, John, as well, and I'm still kind of in the dark about what actually you want to do for this. I know you're talking about the 1916 proclamation and stuff but there's a lot of red tape when it comes to judiciary and stuff like that. But I'd love to know the outline of what you want to do with the country currently. Listen, history is history. The past is in the past. What's happening now is absolutely abhorrent to this country. And I would just like you to outline, and forget about all this legal stuff for now. You talk about the Constitution. Right? If we talk about the 1916 Constitution, right, or the 1916 Proclamation, why is there so much red tape involved in this? Why can't we just get something written up and say, this is what we want to do for the country right now, regardless of who's involved in it, and regardless of you getting all, you're talking about all your cabinet members, all this kind of thing. Forget about the names for now. We want to know, what I want to know as an Irish citizen, what the IRB proposes to do from this day forward. If you want followers, you tell us what you're going to do about what's happening in this country. I'm not angry with you. I just want you to tell me, how do we fix the problem right now, and why should we follow the IRB? If you have an idea and you're going to tell us, then tell me now what you want to do and what you think you can do. And if your proposals are okay and we agree with it and we vote on it, then we will follow. But you have to be clear on what you want to do. We can't keep going back to 1916, 1919, 1921. It's 2024 and the country's on its knees, John. So it's time right now to tell us right now how we move forward. And don't tell me anything about courts or justice or anything like that. Tell us what the plans are, what the IRB want to do and how they're going to do it. And then I'll listen and I'll agree with you, whatever you want to do or disagree. And that's what the people in this room want to know. Because we talked for so long and listened for so long and we've got nowhere. So tell us where you want to go, pal, okay?
Okay, well, I'm just going to give one short answer to that, and it's not being smart, but I want you to think about it. You asked us or asked me to tell you what we're going to do for you as an Irish citizen. Well, we can't do anything for you as an Irish citizen. Because once you're a citizen in that regard, you have no rights. Once you're in that system, your rights are qualified. Once you're on that register of voters, you're part of a selection process, not an election process. But if you're able to see that there is an Irish Republic, that there is a sovereign nation state, and I mean, when we talked about 1916 and 1919 in the court, we're only answering questions in that regard, to confirm to the people of what's there for them. The foundations are all there. It's for the people to see. You strike me as an intelligent man. You're able to speak very well, but you're asked, you don't know what is there from the IRB organisation.
That's what I'm asking you. This is what I just said. I want to know the IRB organisation. What's their plans to move forward now? We're not going back to 19...
Absolutely. We want the citizens of the Irish Republic to come forward and claim what is rightfully theirs. The land of Ireland belongs to the people of Ireland. But unless the people of Ireland can make that claim, nothing can be done for them. Or an organisation like the IRB or Old Clare can't assist them.
Right then. Okay then. I'm not part of the IRB, but listen, it was very It was amazing to hear you speak there, and you know, your information is fantastic. But right now in 2024, there's a very confused nation of where to go forward. Okay, let's get that straight.
Give me an example. Give me an example of a problem.
Well,
I know. Sorry, I know there's loads of problems, but I want you to give me a specific problem that I can endeavour to answer.
Right then. Well, it's a pretty simple one, and it's pretty obvious. Okay. The biggest problem in this country, if you ask me, is the Department of Justice. And you were talking about the judicial system and all this and Constitution. It's pretty obvious. Even Bunrack talked about it as well, how the Constitution has been destroyed ever since all these, even since 2020, Leo Varadkar, and we sat back and done nothing. So what we're looking for is a leader. It's somebody to say, we disagree with what's happening in this country. We disagree with how the Department of Justice, the Department of Immigration, and all the rest of those crooks up in the Dáil, and all those boys are getting nowhere and leaving the Irish people behind. You said there just that an Irish people doesn't have a voice when they're on the system. I don't believe that for a second. I believe the people of this country should speak up. And if we had a leader that with your information, who was brilliant back, by the way, all your information for the past was fantastic. Look at the facts right now and say, this is what's happening right now. Take that to your courts and say, we don't agree with this, and get the people behind you to say, this is what's happening. And the IRB, if you wanted to put your manifesto that way, say, okay, we believe that John Caulfield's going to do this, and if you say you're going to do it, we stand behind you. But the way it is, what's happening right now, all we're doing, all we're getting out is little snippets of things that they go back in the past. The past is the past, let it go, John. We have to move forward. Tell us what your plan is to fix this country, and I'll listen to you. I'll ask you. Just tell
100%,
me.
100%. So the reason we go back is to explain that there's a foundation there from the past. We're all about the reset to the 21st of January 1919. And you mentioned, I think your problem is centered around the justice system. So what the people need to know is that the Department of Justice was established on the 22nd of January 1919. And thereafter, there followed a year of actual courts in this land. They rendered the Crown Courts redundant. They operated under customary common law, the Brehon laws, and natural laws. Those lawful positions remain extant. I said earlier on the show about the ability for a living man or woman to come forward and get a sovereign license for the sitting judge to see the living man or woman and bring forth customary common law, the Brehon laws, and natural law. It's all there to be corrected. You don't have to start at the beginning, because there is a foundation from that point in time. I myself have used these licenses inside in court. As I said, unfortunately, I'm there too bloody much, but they are effective and they make the judge see the sovereign living man or woman. It's a whole different ballgame. I didn't say that people shouldn't have a voice or talk up. What I said is that if you are a citizen of the Irish Republic, a citizen as a person under Black's Law Dictionary, your rights are given by qualifications. You have absolutely no rights at all. You don't have to be in that system, and the more tentacles you remove from yourself, the freer you are, the more powerful you are, and it's all there for you.
And we rolled out the citizenship of the Irish Republic on the 14th of October last year, you know. So all of the solutions are be a citizen of the Republic. The Republic, as John said, is what the cabal and the Crown corporations are terrified of. And in this country, the Republic was established and it remains established for the people. And it's time to bring that forward. But that's on the individual, guys. It's on the individual and everyone there, all the people of Ireland, that claim their rights and entitlements to an equal and adequate share of the nation's wealth of the nation and to the land of Ireland.
That's correct. There are two things that the cabal want. They want our life force by having the tentacles on the person, and they want the assets of the nation state, which belong by right to the people of Ireland. Remove the tentacles of the person and make the claim for the land and the assets of the state, therein and thereof. You can do that in the public domain on eire.ie. You can secure the sovereign self and proclaim that position in a public domain.
All right, lads, we've just two more questions there. Sarah, work away there, please. And thanks very much, lads, for all your questions.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
How are you, Johns? To be honest, I have numerous questions, but I will try and pull it back So I suppose just going on what you were saying there now, that as a citizen you have no rights, you know, but then you talk about you've rolled out the something for the citizenship. So I'm confused there where, you know, to me you have to, you engage in maritime law. There's two jurisdictions. So you have the corporate jurisdiction and you have the sovereign jurisdiction, the living man, as you said. To pull yourself out of that system completely, you're doing yourself an injustice. We need to operate in maritime law. We operate in commerce every single day. We go to the shop, we buy produce. We have a passport. All those are contracts, you know. So the two jurisdictions there do exist. And to take ourselves out of the voting system that people died for would, to me, be doing a terrible injustice. And we saw it there just with the deregistering of people. Those people did the Irish nation an injustice with regards to the last elections, the local elections, because only 50% of the people on this island are registered to vote. The ones eligible to vote, only 50% of them are registered to vote, which is disgraceful. And only 52% of those or 56% of those actually came out to vote. So that is helping to destroy this nation if people don't use the vote that people died for, you know. And right, something important that John Flanaghan, so you had said that you're spending a lot of time in courts.
Yes,
that you're spending more time in court than any man on the island. So what kind of court cases, if you don't mind me asking, why are you spending so much time in court?
I suppose I've been under the cosh for the last 15 years, really, and it's. I'm glad you brought up the necessity of commerce, because you're 100% correct in that. I mean, every loads of different kind of cases, to be honest with you, Sarah Jane. Commercial cases, business cases, but also all of the constitutional cases, constitutional rights. I mean, I issued High Court proceedings against Pascal Donoghue, Tony Holohan, and Michael D. Higgins and Norma Foley when they tried to bring out the mask mandates on children, and a week later those things. I'm not saying it's exactly because of those High Court cases, but whatever case needs to be brought, we'll bring it if nobody else is bringing it. But I just want to come back to what you said at the start there. You're 100% correct in the fact that we need to live in both systems. Now, it's very hard to answer all questions in a show like this or present everything.
No, that's enough. I don't. Well, to be honest, the question about the courts, I'd like a bit of a clarification on that, because I want to know what. When you said you used the 1919 Constitution in court, what 1919 Constitution are you talking about?
The sovereign constitution.
But what is the sovereign constitution?
The sovereign constitution, the Constitution of the Irish Republic, proclaimed in arms on 24th of April 1916 and established by the will and wish of the people of Ireland on 21st of January 1919.
So you're talking about
it's up on the IRB Supreme Council. It's up. Sorry.
You're talking about the proclamation and the what's the 1919 the dollar Éireann? So those two documents.
No. I don't know why everybody keeps bringing up the Constitution of Dáil Éireann and the 5-article Constitution of Dáil Éireann. That's because the Constitution.
I don't understand what you're using in court. What 1919 document and what 1916? So that's the proclamation is the 1916. And what 1919 are you talking about that you use in court?
The sovereign constitution. The 1919 Constitution.
What constitution is that? What's the name of it?
The name of it. The Constitution of the Republic of Ireland. Proclaimed in arms.
The Republic of Ireland in 1919.
Proclaimed in arms on Easter Monday, April 24th, 1916, and established by the will and wish of the people of Ireland, 21st of January, 1919. There seems to be a lot of confusion.
That says the Republic of Ireland in 1919.
There seems to be a lot of confusion between Republic of Ireland and Irish Republic.
With all due respect, can you answer me where is the Republic of Ireland in any document in 1919? or to this day.
And that document.
It's on the sovereign constitution.
And if you're in any doubt about that, or need any verification of it, go to the IRB Supreme Council website, and you will see the glossary of terms and all those documents. We
only became the Republic of Ireland with the Republic of Ireland Act of 1948 and 49. So where is the Republic of Ireland mentioned on any official documents for this nation, for this country?
Are you suggesting that that document, that particular document, the 1919 Constitution, which on the face of it says, this Constitution shall be the Constitution of the Republic of Ireland, proclaimed in arms on Easter Monday, April 24, 1916.
The Republic of Ireland was not proclaimed in arms.
No.
The Irish Republic was proclaimed in arms.
On the face of the document, that's what it says. You've seen it yourself. And if there further evidence proves that Mary McSweeney brought that to America in 1930 to get international recognition. This document is in the archives. The copy we have was retrieved from the Vaughan's Hotel papers. And there seems to be huge confusion about the 1919 5-article Dáil Constitution and this Constitution. They are not the same document, nor could they be. The document is up on irbsupremecouncil.com and .ie, and the glossary of terms explaining the origins and the explanations of the terms and words of those documents is up there as well.
I do apologise there, lads, if I kind of mute you. It's just that we just want someone to explain when two people are talking to each other, no one can hear it.
Yeah, but do you know what it is? I just want to get away from all the faffle. I want the facts, okay? And you have to take out all the facts. And all the rest you can talk away about, but let's look at the facts here. I've asked for that original document, and it would not be shared with me. I asked for it, and this is the people, this is to do with we the people. And we have to make sure that we're on the right track, and we're not being hoodwinked again, okay? So it's very important that the facts come out. Now, you did write to the Attorney General, and this is to do with what you said about the licensing as well, of the courts and all the rest of it, okay? Now, regarding this is the Attorney General speaking to you, and I know you said it's out of context, and I'd like you to explain that as well. So he said, Dear Sir, I refer to your letter dated the 31st of July regarding the 1919 Constitution of Dáil Éireann. This was repealed when the Constitution of the Irish Free State came into force on the 6th of December 1922. The 1922 Constitution in turn was repealed by the Article 48 of the 1937 Constitution. The 1937 Constitution was approved by plebiscite of the Irish people held on the 1st of July. Thus, the 1919 Constitution to which you refer does not have legal effect. It is concerning that you hold yourself out as a person authorised to issue licences to judges. The judges of the state are appointed by the president of this function, and the function is performed only on the advice of the government. Okay? Now, I'll not finish the letter, okay? So now, you have a letter there from the Attorney General stating what the law of this land is. The 1919 Constitution that you're talking about, as I said, any organisation can have a constitution, golf clubs have constitutions, etc. But it is the people of this island that voted for the Constitution, the 1937 Constitution, okay? And there's nowhere that says Republic of Ireland in any of these official documents. And you can say all you want that there's an archive. I've asked for it and you wouldn't share it with me, okay? So the other thing is, you're talking about bringing things out of the organisation sort of thing, but then you talked about bringing things into the organisation again with regards to land and everything. So you guys are making a list of the land owned by the state and all the rest of it and bringing it in to an organisation, listing it and things. So yes, it's very contradictory, some of the things that are being saying, you know, very contradictory. It's only confusing the people. And I don't understand where you guys think that, like, let me just say this. You say the sovereign territory of Éire for the people of Ireland, right? Why are we not the people of Éire? We are the people of Éire. So that's two different jurisdictions there, what you're saying. Sovereign territory of Éire. Éire is the sovereign. For the people of Ireland, Ireland is the corporate, right? So that's confusing there, okay? So, and you talk away about international law, Roman law, English law, but you're not looking at Irish law, the law that the people voted for in this country, you know? And the last thing I'll just want to say, okay? I could say loads of things or ask loads of questions, but the guy, what do you call him? Paul Greaves, right? Paul Greaves, what position does he hold, or what title does he hold within your organisation?
Sorry, is that Jason Paul Greaves, is it?
Jason Paul Greaves, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not within our organisation, but he was given a sovereign licence to act as the Postmaster General for ERA.
Are you still there?
And did Jason Paul Greaves, rewrite your constitution, rewrite the IRB constitution?
No, Jason Paul Greaves is he's an expert in syntax grammar who is in the position of Commander-in-Chief of Title IV Flag in the UPU. He's in the private.
So this English guy has stated that he has helped. He was glad to have had the privilege of rewriting the IRB constitution and orders.
Oh,
and he is standing pictured with the crown, with a badge on his lapel with the crown on it. You know,
yeah,
so why?
He's in the UPU. He's Postmaster General in the UPU, and he has done loads of work for us over the last 2 years. Work that he has been paid for. He's not in the organisation. The UPU are in the private. For example, he has salvaged 19 Title IV flags for this sovereign nation state, including the tricolour, including the flag of the Irish Republic, including every single flag that the Crown stole from us. We now have them salvaged back, held in trust for ERA and the people of Ireland when the time is right.
Right, so you guys don't recognise the 1937, which the people have the power in this country.
No. I've said it repeatedly.
But who gives you the right to claim?
No, I've said it repeatedly this evening that I have used it myself. But just on that, do you mind if I read out the response to the Attorney General to that particular letter that yourself and actually I think Mouse earlier on referred to it as well?
Yeah.
So I sent the response back on referring to his letter of the 31st of August, yeah? Akara, I acknowledge receipt of your letter of the 28th of August in replies to ours of the 31st of July. There are a number of inaccuracies and or misconceptions in your letter which I address as follows. 1. I do not hold myself out as a person authorised to issue licences to judges. 2. The Irish Republican Brotherhood, IRB, hold the authority to issue sovereign licences in ERA. 3. The 1919 Constitution of Dáil Éireann is not the subject of our letter of the 31st of July. 4. The Constitution of the Republic of Ireland, proclaimed in arms on Easter Monday, April 24th, 1916, and established by the will of the people of Ireland on January 21st, 1919, remains lawfully extant, and any judge sitting to hear matters under this Constitution must hold a sovereign licence. Legal precedent such as Bede's v. Ireland holds no power or effect against the inalienable, sovereign and indefeasible rights and lawful position of the living men and women in Ireland.
Perfect. Can we move on there again, lads?
We can, of course, Jared. We can, of course.
Rory, there, please.
Well, thanks, John. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the 1919 Constitution. I think it's just a procedural thing. I don't think I heard you talk about the democratic programme of the First Dáil. That's a very significant document, isn't it? I mean, that's
very, very significant. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that reaffirms the republic that was declared in 1916 and goes on to great. So
that's the key document, Rory. It's the key document. And remember, we said that Michael Collins transferred on condition of the programme. The democratic programme is the key document. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it goes on to say that. I mean, even private property would be subordinate to I can't remember the word, the public welfare, because we've ministers in this country that own 50-something houses, but yes. I didn't have much else to say other than that. I mean, I think someone mentioned earlier on, I mean, I don't know where these people are coming, their loyalty to a constitution of the 1930s, where when De Valera wrote it, he basically said he didn't have to consult the Irish people, he only had to look into his own heart. He went to John Charles McQuaid with it, and it's been butchered and amended any amount of time since. There's been many factions of Republicans who've never recognised the state at all, ever. They've only ever recognised the republic that was declared in 1916. So I'm just, I suppose my question's more for them than you. But well, thanks. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I just say as well, in relation to the programme of the Brotherhood, we updated the programme of the Brotherhood, I think, on the 20th of December 2022, and it's essentially, guys, 22 macro lawful prerequisite principles for the lawful governance of the Sovereign Republic of Eire. You can find it on irbsupremecouncil.ie. You can find it on all of my social media channels, and we also have an Irish Republican Brotherhood PRO page. Go and look at that document and satisfy yourself that it protects the rights of yourselves and your families. It's a very, very, very important document.
Okay, lads, that was fantastic. Great question. Because I didn't realise I was going to be wrecking a heavyweight boxing match tonight. But anyhow, let's move on to David C. there, please. David, we've got a question. One of them there mentioned there was a kind of a money or fee for something. Could you explain what that is, just to answer that question?
Yeah, I think there was an inference that there was a cost towards our documents, and there certainly isn't. I don't know if we wanted. There's when we were doing the deeds of acknowledgement and confirmation,
well, of course there's a cost in relation to it. Of course there is. We travelled the country from the 31st of July 2022 for, I suppose, 9 months really, where we went to give deeds of acknowledgement and confirmation for sovereign claimants in Eire. Those deeds were issued in English, in syntax grammar, and in Irish, and the sovereign seal of Eire was affixed thereupon. Now, what did that do simply? That simply said that the IRB see you as a living man or woman, and you see the IRB, and we recognise each other and we help each other. And there was a cost involved in anybody acquiring those deeds.
Well, I mean, sorry, I was just going to say, guys, we've been travelling the country. We kind of evolved from the rollout of deeds of acknowledgement. We've actually been travelling and giving presentations for the last year. So we will travel and give a presentation on all of this and explore it in far greater depth and detail for any individuals and for any communities that are really looking for the solution. So by all means, if there's anyone here listening and wants to know more about it and have these public meetings where we can really bring the solutions forward, please contact me either here on Twitter or via email at jbc@tmhl.ie, so we're constantly on the go here.
Sorry, can you repeat that? JBC, is it?
JBC, John Bravo, I don't know the technical lingo, at tmhl.ie. That's for the Mermaid House List Scanner.ie. Just for anyone who wishes, as I said, to bring it forward.
What's your name?
John Caulfield.
Pleasure to meet you, John. Kevin O'Swale on there.
Likewise. Any further questions, guys? Any further questions that we can answer while we're here, or is that it?
Where are you meeting?
Sorry, go on there.
Where is your next meeting?
Not sure yet exactly, but I can link in with me. We keep an eye on my social media here. I wouldn't actually particularly active on X or myself. We do have a Irish Republican Brotherhood PRO page, but if anyone here is on Telegram or Facebook or Instagram, just type in my name, John Caulfield, and you'll find all of our social media updates in relation to our talks and all the promulgation of all of our paperwork.
Great, I'll be in touch. Fascinating. Thanks very much.
Okay. Lads, we're just going to take two more questions now. Melissa, I'll bring you up. One question, Melissa, right? Please, just one question and let him answer it. I'll bring you up again. Go on.
Sorry, I was just on the Noel Boylan show there. But my one question to what I believe to be a new IRB as opposed to the old, and I'm still with the old IRB, as in Tom Ryan. Why are you charging, you believe we were born sovereign?
Melissa, I don't know if you were there for that last question.
Sorry, I was live on the radio there. But can you answer it again there for me then, if you don't mind? Because I can't understand why you think people have to pay for their sovereignty that we're born with, and why you're still mushing around with your turning of the sea under a very Masonic corner, or a Mason corner, I should say. Apologies.
Well, look, what way to come and answer that really, but I say this, is that every member that sits on the IRB Supreme Council is not a Freemason. As far as the turning of the seal, it's a ceremony. It's a ceremony whereby the claim for the land of Ireland, for the people of Ireland, is maintained and sustained. It's not a ritual, it's not a Freemason ritual or anything like that. As far as charging people for sovereignty, it's the most ridiculous accusation that's ever been put at us. You cannot do such a thing. As I said earlier on the show, loads of people have come to me and said, why do I need paper to say I'm sovereign? I don't need paper to say I'm sovereign. You don't. Absolutely you don't. But then answer me, why do they still do to you all those things that they do to you? We don't charge people for sovereignty. The paper, the deeds of acknowledgement and confirmation that we rolled out all across the country from the 31st of July for I think 9 or 10 months. We travelled there, we're all volunteers, petrol and diesel in our own cars. We hired rooms and we covered costs by giving people their deeds if they wanted them. People came to get deeds. We didn't catch them and bring them in the door to take deeds. And I think the cost covered 3 deeds, English, Irish and syntax, grammar, and I think it was €22 for the 3 deeds. Now, to be straight up and honest, and everybody here on the show, did that cover all the costs of those rollouts? Not at all. But the assumption or the accusation that it's charging people for their sovereignty is absolutely bonkers.
Now, lads, again, I thank you so much for your time. Can you take a couple of more questions? If not, if you're too busy, we can just finish it up.
No, we can take a couple more, I suppose, just if there's topics that haven't been touched upon, you know.
Yeah, okay, I'll just let in someone else there. Again, my understanding, lads, is that everyone here is trying to do the best for the country. I know people are getting a bit confused about all the different organisations and stuff like this, but someone made a great suggestion there that we should start meeting up and talking civil and respectful to each other, and to look at each point of view and trying to get this across, because the number one thing is Ireland, and to help every individual in this country to achieve their ultimate goal. You know what I mean? And us kind of arguing amongst each other about this constitution, that constitution, this what matters is here and now, and what we can do to help our country and our people. I just leave in someone there, so.
No, you must be having issues there. Ireland, you go there and we let someone else up.
Yeah, listen, I really appreciate what the two Johns have said there and stuff like that. You know, and it's been really informative, and I really appreciate it, because, we don't get to hear this type of information. Again, we only learned them in school and stuff, but I know it sounds bad to say it, but I would really, really love it if we went back to the IRB of 1916, because I think that would actually start turning the country around. And if you think, my question is, do you think if we actually stuck to our guns from the 1916 proclamation, do you think things would change a lot quicker now, seeing as people would actually follow that? A lot of people listening to this would follow that quicker right now than the kind of new IRB now, because we haven't heard a lot from them. But the one in 1916, I would definitely follow for that. And that's all I'm saying. Do you think it would be better if we followed that curriculum that way and followed that those type of leaders back then? That's all I'm asking, John.
Yeah, so what I would say is that all those great men in the IRB of 1916 were ultimately successful on the 21st of January 1919. So we don't have to start again with an IRB or another organisation akin to 1916, because we would only end up getting to what was established on the 21st of January 1919. It's like the overwhelming truth, and it's very hard for all of us to appreciate, that all the hard work has been done. It's just been hidden from us. We have the right to a sovereign independent government. We are people that are living on an island of Ireland, a sovereign nation state, and the rights of those people are sovereign and indefeasible. And there is solemn documents there to protect those rights. I've said it time and time again that if people just looked at Article 1 of the Sovereign Constitution, that in itself alone is sufficient to protect the rights of every man, woman, and their sons and daughters in this island. So again, it's like we don't have to go back and start the big fight again, because you cannot improve the position that was established on the 21st of January 1919. It remains extant lawfully. If you look at the corporate departments currently, they admit that they take their position from 21st of January 1919. It's really there. As I say, it's the overwhelming truth. But if people were just given a chance to see, it's not the people's fault. They're being rushed from pillar to post, from one end of the week to the other. They're being indoctrinated with news and frightened with legislation and all these terrible things day in, day out. But again, guys, and everyone that listens to this, I would implore you to look at what's actually there for you. It's not about following the IRB. The work is done. All we're doing is bringing forward that lawful position and the documents that are there for the people. It's all there. You don't even have to overthrow the government. You just have to tame that corporation to make it work for you and stop them abusing you. And all of that is very, very possible. And I would also say that we certainly have no intention of fighting with anybody that's here for the country. We absolutely encourage them. Anything we're doing will not threaten their endeavours. And I want to be adamant about that. We are of absolutely no threat to any of those good people listening that are following a different route perhaps to what we're showing people is there for them. We applaud them, we encourage them, we certainly will not detract from them.
Two more questions, John, and each of them, just one question, please, lads, because the time is running on.
Yeah, if it can just be a question, please, and not
the question.
Yeah.
100%. I think was it Gavin? Was it Paula next?
Yeah, Paula, please.
Hello, greetings. Can you guys hear me?
Hi there. Hello.
Hello, greetings, everyone. Before I am a Title IV flag claimant, my dad was born in County Clare. I have three quick questions if you all have time. If that's okay.
Yeah, quick as you can there,
okay.
Please.
Number one, as far as I know, on the lastflagstanding.com website, Jason Paul Greaves is in the pirate unauthorized category, so just something to follow up on. Number two, would it be possible to revoke the Dahlerin's authorization on the grounds that the EU Pact Migration is treason? Number three, who has the tricolour or any other Irish Éire flag copyrights? Gratitude for the gratitude.
Okay. The true tricolour of this nation state is the tricolour that was given to Thomas Francis Maher of the Irish Volunteers by the French revolutionaries in 1848. That tricolour was reversed at the funeral of James Stephens, the founder of the IRB, on his funeral in 1901. The tricolour, first of all, was orange, white and green. It was reversed at the funeral of James Stephens to be green, white and orange. That's the first time it was flown with green closest to the mast. The true dimensions of the tricolour are the dimensions that were given to Sean McDermott for the 1916 rising, 63 inches by 29 and a quarter. Those are the true dimensions of the tricolour of the sovereign nation state in the Irish Republic. The tricolour that is being presented by the Crown Free State Corporation is always on the dead entity dimensions 2 by 1. As we know, corporations are dead. Everything associated with it is in the dead entity paradigm. So the tricolour that they present is not the true tricolour of the sovereign nation state. I forget what the middle question was, but any question in relation to Jason Paul Greaves is best presented to Jason Paul Greaves himself through his own website. As I say, Jason Paul Greaves is a man that has the position of Commander-in-Chief of Title 4 Flag in the UPU. Can you remind me what the middle question was? I can't remember what the middle question. Oh, sorry. Disbanding, I think, Dáil Éireann based on treason. Every single department of Dáil Éireann is corporate. Every single minister of Dáil Éireann is a corporation. This is why these types of governments can never work and never will work. Look to the Ministries and Secretaries Act of 1924. It absolutely confirms under Article 2, I think, that each minister will be a corporation in their sole name. So this is why you can have the best of men and women running for position, and they can be promising you the sun, moon and stars and meaning their promise. And once they get elected into office, they become a corporation. They have no more say, and corporations will only work for those that own them. And the people of Ireland will never own those corporations that are ministers or departments in the current system. So a corporation cannot be tried for treason.
Now, lads, someone just texted me a question about the EU law and the Lisbon Treaty and stuff like that, and how do we hold up against these cabal taking over our borders and eventually, hopefully, our fingers crossed, taking over everything belongs to us. You know, this is unfortunately, this is our future unless we stand up. And what's your views on the...
It totally is, and it comes back. It's the same answer all again. Stop being a citizen of Ireland. If you're a citizen of Ireland, you're going to succumb to all that system. The sovereign nation state of ERA is not in the EU. Mm-hmm. It has never been in the EU. And holds no debt. And it also holds no debt. Yep. It's about knowing you don't have to take on the fight. Remember, if you take on the fight, you're accepting that they're doing something to you. You're complaining about what they're doing to you because they can do it to you. The answer to all this is rise above it. Step into your sovereignty. Sovereignty is always going to be God-man government. Anything else is God-government-man. It puts the corporation above you. That's the answer. Be sovereign. Know what's there for the Irish people. We are travelling the country with the Sovereign Synergy Solution Talk. It's not just IRB. There's a load of collective knowledge gathered over the last 2.5, 3 years in the presentation we're bringing there. The IRB position only is a part of it. So I would encourage anybody to keep an eye out on the channels and see what the next talk is, because the questions and answers at the end of those presentations is very, very beneficial for anybody that really, really wants to know more and step into their sovereignty, and also be part of the Irish Republic, that we need the people to step forward to help take it back.
Well, lads, again, I just want to thank the board of you. It's been nearly 2.5 hours now, and you answered most of the questions. I'm not saying that everyone here is, 100% understand everything that you said tonight, but look, we'll get you on another time, and we can ask you more questions in the future. Gavin, have you anything to say to the lads before they go?
Yeah. Patricia was upset. She got cut off, and it was half my fault because I was trying to get her in, and I think I kicked her, and then she couldn't get back in, and just an absolute mess. But she just wanted me to ask, would you come back on in a few months? I think she wants to have a chat with you yourself, maybe on here or on Telegram. And other than that, thanks a million for coming on. You really, you know what I mean? You answered the questions that were put to you, and, so that people can make up their own mind then after.
Well, sure, look, that's it. And absolutely, we will, of course, come back on in a few months and have a chat with Patricia. And lads, from our side of it, thank ye for having us on. All we want to do is get the word out to people, make them more aware of the solutions that are there for them. We can't force anyone to do anything. That's not what we're here for. It's really about leading the horse to water, and we're just providing the water. That's where we come from.
And come here, John, if you're in Limerick, give us a shout, and we'll meet up for a cup of coffee, all right?
Well, we'll see now in a few weeks' time how this weekend goes and how the weekends after go. I'm only joking, we will record.
Thanks very much, lads. Thanks for having us on, and absolutely we'll come back on, and please God, we'll see a few of you at our talks across the country, so keep an eye out.
God bless, lads. Thanks very much.
God bless. God bless.